Warning, the following communications are not authorized. Please disable your signals and report to your local re-education center immediately. Failure to comply will result in immediate reprimand and capital punishment.
We are live, starring Eric Butler, TatumReport.com, James Klug from, that's right, James, I know the umlauts. Newsmax, James Klug on Instagram and YouTube. Let's jump right into it. Eric Butler, are you excited about Candace Parker? I had to check her name because I'm not even sure who she was before last week. First woman on the cover of NBA 2K. We can bring it up right here. Now, of course, for those of you who don't know, that's a very popular basketball game, video game, PlayStation, Xbox, Atari 3200. Two-time women's WNBA MVP. For some reason, on a sports game for men, I don't know if you can play the women's team in the game. Thoughts on this? It's supposed to be only in GameStop, which I don't know how many copies they're going to sell in person. Does this trigger you, Eric?
It does trigger me just a little bit. Not because, I love video games or anything like that. It's because of this particular woman. I mean, it's just all part of this overarching agenda, right? I don't know if you have the clip. I obviously mentioned it.
It's very long. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a little bit long. I had a shorter one, but neither here nor there. The fact that this woman took an interview with Bubba Wallace, to talk about racism and George Floyd, all sponsored by McDonald's, is more of what triggers me. So this is part of it, right? So they take this hyper woke woman who took an interview with all people, Bubba Smollett, a race car driver who doesn't know what a garage pull looks like, to talk about racism and kneeling and stuff. So this is just another part of that overarching agenda. It really has nothing to do with the fact that she's a woman, and unfortunately, they're just not as good at basketball. I mean, I think I can also
the WNBA is horrible.
I think I could also say, though, unfortunately, I grew up watching the NBA. Like, when I was a little kid, all the like late 90s guys, and that stuff was so fun. But now they've just been overrun with wokeness and advertising as well, right? When I was a kid, they didn't have Verizon plastered on the jersey like a soccer team. It wasn't plastered all over the floor. It didn't say Black Lives Matter on the floor back in 2001. So it's just a huge ball of annoying wokeness.
I think a lot of people have found that if they go this route, they get picked up by the media. It's really become oh gosh, I can't wait to get out my woke statement that's going to drive the United States insane. Yeah, sure, half the country hates you, but also half the country seems to not mind this insanity, and it gets you on headlines. I mean, there's certainly an incentive for a lot of these people to do stuff like this. I personally think. Like, I don't know anything about that person at all. I don't even watch NBA. Like, I don't.
You don't watch the WNBA? Oh my god.
I don't watch any of this stuff. But yeah, I mean, if you want to be a known name for maybe about a week before people completely forget who you are because nobody watches that at all, yeah, talk politics, be woke. That seems like the plan nowadays. And what is it with this obsession with victimhood in these athletes? These people have achieved so much. Yeah, sure, we're cracking jokes that nobody watches the WNBA, but still, these are the most talented women in the world, and here they are, presumably making a decent living.
They're probably making like 30 grand. 30 grand.
That could be true. I literally do not know what they make. I really don't. But if I had to guess, she's doing okay. She probably has some sponsors, stuff like that. If I had to guess, probably went through school with maybe paid free 99, paid absolutely nothing. They get given all these things, and then they turn around and say, you basically just spit in America's face. It's this new trend that you're seeing everywhere. You guys just they're like addicted to destroying sports. It's insane.
Now, I don't know if they actually have the women playable in the game like they do in a soccer game. To the best of my knowledge, they don't. So it would make even less sense. But they're only making the cover available in the GameStop stores. Obviously, people aren't buying as much of the disc versions anymore. So I think that there's probably think this is just a good PR thing. And she makes 190 grand a year.
Okay, all right. I underestimated just a little bit.
So she still makes a lot.
That's a lot of money, man, for something that Not that many people are watching. If anything, if I had to guess, they're trying to boost up those numbers. If I had to guess, just so they don't get attacked.
I'm going to look up the average contract, but sorry to relate to hockey guys, Canada. I'm in my plaid here, but she makes more than a professional hockey player, like the level before the NHL. They probably, again, she's probably the top tier of WNBA players in terms of salary. But I still do have a feeling that it's boosted. They probably profit share with the NBA. So let's go WNBA average salary. What's
Just
it
a
going to
fun
be?
fact too that not many people know. I'm actually related to Maya Moore, who I believe was like a staple in WNBA. My grandma used to tell me, "Oh, your cousin's doing really good at basketball." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, grandma. Like, you think I'm doing good too, but I'm not doing anything." So I didn't believe it. It's just kind of funny that I actually am related to somebody in the WNBA, and I still know absolutely nothing about it.
Eric,
They are
that's great.
making.
That's great that she was good, but what were her political beliefs? Because sports is not about being good at sports. Come on.
Oh no, she is crazy. You can go on her Instagram, and I don't see eye to eye with my family on a lot of political issues. Now it is getting they are waking up a little bit, just being out in California, and my mom is even like, what is going on? You can go to Maya's Instagram, and she has a slew, a couple, 3 or 4 videos right before election time, claiming that mail-in ballots are necessary and Rona's super I mean, it was just every single fear-mongering left-wing voter fraud talk. I mean, I don't even know if you can say that now, but left-wing talking point ever.
It's sorry to talk over you, Eric.
No, you're good.
It's becoming job security now, right? You pledge your loyalty to whatever political, like left-leaning political ideas are happening at the time, and everybody looks at you in the industry and says, "Good job, Nike." If Nike is satisfied, if the big advertisers are satisfied, you have job security. Good for you.
And I think just really quick, we touched on, I forget exactly what we were talking about last week, but I'm almost certain that this stuff isn't actually profitable. Like we saw when the MLB, NFL, excuse me, said it that football is gay, and when the NBA painted Black Lives Matter on the court, the ratings plummet. So there's something else. There's another force at play here. They're not doing this and then ratings are going through the roof. It's actually the opposite. So I'm just genuinely curious what's actually at play. Is it some mysterious figure behind them pumping them money so they don't care about the actual ratings? I mean, what's really going on?
So there's 148 players listed on this website, Spotrac.com. Lowest is 22 grand, which is not a livable wage.
Okay.
But then again, you still have everything paid for. She's probably an entry-level player, 26 years old, unless that's the number. But there is a lot of people making a lot of money in this league. We get into the top 100 and you're making 62,000 American dollars is like $80,000 in Canada. And Candace Parker is not even anywhere near the top. We go all the way to the top, and Elena Deladonna, which is an interesting name, and Dewana Bonner. Elena Deladonna, Dewana Bonner, Skylar Diggins-Smith. These are hype names. But anyway, they're making 200 and a quarter. I'm guessing this is the max, judging by the fact that several people have 224.87. So they're getting paid pretty well.
Which is obviously nothing to sneeze at. But when you look at the NBA, I mean, I assume that's a small fraction of the lowest ranked NBA player. I mean, I think the lowest ranked NBA player is probably bringing in $1 million in a year. But
should we look that up?
It doesn't matter.
They're probably a couple 100,000 or something.
Okay,
that looked like it was all the players in the league there.
But I mean, yeah, that's just. I mean, I'm way out of my realm even with what we're talking about right now. But I think common sense tells you. I mean, NBA has specific ratings that are pretty good. Despite being so political and stuff like that, pretty darn good. Look at what the athletes are making. Women and men both prefer watching NBA just because it's more exciting. There's crazy things going on. These people are the best in the world, doing the best, playing the best basketball in the world, and people pay to see that. That's interesting. You're not watching like a warm up. No, this is the best in the world going against the best. That's exciting.
Okay, this is funny here. So the least paid player in the NBA, you're going to see it's Gary Payton.
What's he at?
He's not playing. These are residuals. Mike James is a point guard who hasn't played in years, making $40,000 a year. So what happens? They get released from a contract. They got to pay out their salary if the team overpaid for years and years. Happens a lot in many sports when a guy's not good enough and they're still getting paid for years and years. Top salary in the end. No. The team doesn't want you anymore. You're not good enough. They can just pay you a portion of your contract, get you go away. That's happened a lot in hockey, because the problem with hockey is they go through these phases where they have lockouts and they have to restructure their bargaining agreements because the salaries get so disproportionate that teams are like, what the hell? Because it's not a popular sport across all cities. You'll have teams in Toronto or teams in Detroit, for example, or New York, paying their players huge salaries, and a team in Arizona paying their players nothing. So they have to go rebargain, set a minimum and a maximum. Then you end up at the end of those deals, like when everything starts to get messed up, you end up with guys who are making like $15 million a year, and then they don't end up playing for the last 7 years of their career. So they're making $2 million a year just sitting at home. Sweet deal for them. Top salaries in the NBA, the whole first page is over $27 million. The top 40 players. Yeah. So there's that. Let's try to move on here. This is not a sports podcast, you guys. We're going to move on to Texas Democrat, who we have never heard of before. He's on, what was the name of the guy again, Eric? Fox guy?
Pete Hegseth?
Pete Hegseth. I didn't know he had this in him. He absolutely torches this guy, gets him to admit that voter ID is bad for some reason.
We will overcome someday. Deep in our heart, I do believe we shall overcome today.
That's not
There
cringe.
you have it. Here now, a member of that chorus, Democrat Texas State Representative James Tallarico, who recently flew on a private plane and currently resides in Washington, D.C. James, thank you very much for being here. Now, we know you met with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi today, and the talking points, they've been issued. You've been told to say you're protecting democracy, that Republicans are authoritarians and racist, they're blocking the ballot box, you want voter suppression. I've got it. Texas Republicans are racist. But you're in D.C. now, and the talk is all about H.R. 1, and they're gleefully promoting your effort to promote their national effort. It kind of seems like they're just using you as a prop or a puppet.
So, I'm an eighth-generation Texan. I've only been in D.C. twice in my life. This is the second time. I'm a former middle school teacher who ran for office just to try to make my community
Here's
better.
how good of a person I am.
I swore an oath when I first got elected 2 years ago to uphold the Constitution of the United States, and also the Constitution of the great state of Texas. And after our former president, Donald Trump, started his big lie that the election was stolen, Republican legislators in capitals
Wait, how did you make this about Donald Trump in 20 seconds? That's a bit of a record. So now you're going to voter suppression, which I get it. But if this is all about your allegiance to Texas and you're an eighth-generation Texan and all that, and the Constitution, by the way, the Constitution, Section 1, Article 4, gives authority to the state legislatures, then why are you not in Texas? And why are you in Washington, D.C. doing press conferences with federal officials?
I was just going to answer that. It's a great question. And what I was saying is when President Trump lost the election, he told Republicans across the country that he didn't lose the election. And this caused Republican legislators in state capitals from Georgia to Austin to start putting forward bills that would make it harder to vote. And actually, Texas is one of the hardest places to vote in the whole country. And so when this started, many of my Democratic colleagues tried to negotiate with our fellow legislators, most of them Republicans, to try to make the bill less damaging, less harmful, less dangerous to constituencies across the state of Texas. Unfortunately, our Republican colleagues didn't want to negotiate with us.
Is 17 days of early voting and adding an hour of voting too much? Is it too difficult to provide, I don't know, your driver's license number and the last four digits of your Social Security number? Is that too much to ask a voter in Texas?
So what this bill does, and I'm glad you asked because it gives me an opportunity to correct something you said earlier, which is that this bill actually reduces the amount of time for early voting.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, so in Texas currently, a county can extend voting to 24 hours. You can actually vote all night, which is really convenient if you work during the day. A lot of working folks aren't able to get off work to go vote.
It's voting
and
at
now
2 a.m. in the morning. It's voting at 2 a.m. in the morning that is the key issue. Is there anyone in Texas that's not currently able to vote? Because I've heard the hyperbole. This is Jim Crow. This is voter repression. This is the Civil War from the leadership of your party. Is there currently a single example you can provide me of a registered citizen voter in Texas that can't vote if we're fighting the Civil War here?
Thankfully, this bill has not passed yet, and God willing, it won't pass.
No, if the bill passes, will there
be any
there will be
minority or woman that's not able to vote?
So the person who oversees elections is appointed by a Republican in the state of Texas. It's a Republican-appointed Secretary of State. And she actually said that Texas's elections in the past 2 cycles were safe, smooth, and secure. Those were the 3 words that she used to describe it.
But we also had, as you pointed out, your party has pointed out
problem.
time and time again, we needed to expand these things because of COVID. And by the way, I didn't see a whole lot of COVID going on that private plane without those masks, but I digress. So if COVID's not there or ultimately minimized in our application, shouldn't we be making sure that the rules go back to something that makes sense, that's reasonable?
That's a great question. I think, in the pandemic, we learned that a lot of things can be made more convenient and more accessible. A lot of folks are working from home instead of having to go into the office. And that's exactly what we learned in voting. We can change some of our voting systems to be more accessible to more people.
Are you okay with voter ID? Are you okay with voter ID? Because you're going back to the talking points. I get it. The talking points have been issued. Are you okay with voter ID?
So voter ID is currently required in the state of Texas. I opposed having to
How about
have a
for mail-in
driver's license
ballots?
to vote.
How about having to send your ballot in? Should you have to prove who you are? Because that's what Democrats are opposing.
Pete, I just said I oppose voter ID. Currently, it's a law in Texas, but I oppose that law because I think you don't need it.
You oppose voter ID? You don't think the most sacred obligation of our republic, you should have to prove who you are in order to vote?
So there are a lot of Texans, actually hundreds of thousands, who don't have a driver's license, who
don't
drive at all.
Do they have a social security number? Because according to this Republican law, you can put your last 4 digits of your social security number in as proof of who you are. Do they not?
Yeah,
help me out.
dead.
Do those people not have social security numbers? And who are these people that can't get ID?
Throw the flag in, okay? This is a mess.
You guys, okay, well, one thing, I actually appreciate him hopping on Fox News trying to do that, but I just want to say, that is exactly why you never see these Democrat officials hopping on Fox News, hopping on Newsmax, hopping on OAN, because it's really hard to defend these crappy talking points. Oh my God, was he just being torn apart?
Yeah,
Eric,
I was gonna
go
say the exact same thing. I will give him partial credit for actually going on there. I don't know how he got free from the right. I mean, I can assume that everybody on those 2 planes and on those buses advised him not to do this, and he did it anyways. And unfortunately, we know this stuff, right? Even people that are still even tuning into Fox News, which I'm guilty of. I watch them on YouTube, whatever, all the time. No big deal, right? But we already know how fake, how awful, deceitful these people are. So we're just preaching to the choir. It would almost be more, I would say it would almost be more effective for him to go on to CNN or MSNBC, but they're just gonna toss him the softballs and then play the part of this clip where he's like, "Are you gonna admit that Trump lost?" That's how the left is covering this, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw that. The left is covering this interview by saying that Texas Democrat forces Fox News pundit to admit that Trump lost, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude.
Yeah, whoa.
Yeah.
Ignore their other 20 minutes of the segment.
Yeah.
I mean that was a slaughter. That was I do respect him hopping on there, but that's right there. That is exactly why you never see these elected officials hopping on these conservative outlets or right-leaning outlets. That's exactly why you don't see it. And this whole them all singing together, acting like they are just the most.
We are the children.
Virtuous.
Yeah,
so powerful, so amazing. I mean, they're fighting against Jim Crow. How amazing! It's like
Jim Crow.
I was on a show the other day, and we kind of talked about how like it almost seems like we're living, and I don't know if you guys feel this way, but I do all the time. I swear to God. we're living in two different realities here. Where I'm watching this, like, hold on, you guys are like pretending this is Jim Crow and this is just asking for some IDs and stuff like that. That doesn't seem like that big of a deal. And then there's one side that is just, I think they genuinely believe their lies so much. I think they believe their own lies so much that they believe it's truth. And because that's the only way that they can have so much energy and so much, so passionate about this stuff. Because you look, an average person looks at this, you don't even have to be like crazy right at all or anything like that. Just a totally average person looking at the facts and look at this and say, what the heck are these Democrats talking about? They're liars. I mean, they're straight up liars. And also, I mean, talk about a punch in the face to anybody that is still walking around today that actually dealt with Jim Crow. I mean, talk about an absolute punch in the face. It's unbelievable.
I want to know what I want to know who these 200,000 Texans are that don't have ID. Are they people that just take Ubers or walk to work? Are they counting teenagers? They're probably counting people who are like under 21 years old who haven't registered to vote yet. And even what Pete said there is that you can use the last 4 digits of your social security number. So there's no like, and I don't know about Texas, but I know there's plenty of states where you can get a non-driver's license ID. You can get that here as well. So I don't understand what the whole thing is. It's again, stupid or lying. And I tend to go with this guy lying because there's literally no excuse that they're giving that he can come up with. He just says voter ID is bad. They're reducing the hours. They're reducing the hours on the weekend. They're actually, it's something like 17 days of early voting they're allowed to do. And then they go with you can't give people water in line when it's actually electioneering that they're talking about, where you can't go and talk to people. So obviously
bribe people.
Yeah, you can't go up to them, so that would also include giving them water. These horrible bastards. So it doesn't make any sense. You have to. I try to see the other side, but at this point, it seems like they know that they're going to lose some sort of edge here, or else why would you be so much against it? You would only be against it if you thought it was bad for your party and their chance to win. And you'd have to imagine that they don't want to lose however many, probably a couple million votes, allegedly, suspectedly, don't sue me, illegal votes that they would get from illegal immigrants. My guess on that being because they're on a border state and there's something like 21 to 30 illegal immigrants in the country. Maybe 10 million of them are old enough to vote. Who knows? So I don't know.
I think it's really a situation of, like, back to what you were saying, Andrew, about kind of the lying. I think it's to a point of, and I kind of mentioned something like this already, but the continuous lies to where if you lie enough, it starts to become your truth. I think these people are in such a bubble to where they don't talk to people on the right. They don't worry about, hey, how are my debate tactics on this? Because if they actually focused on debate, they would have to study the other side's argument and they'd probably defeat themselves just then and there. But I think they lie so much and it's being repeated and repeated to where it becomes their truth. And on the very back end, they have the mainstream media in the United States that literally 90% plus left-leaning, and not just left-leaning anymore, but far left-leaning, that's going to cover for this, right? If Republicans tried to do stuff like this, and this is why Republicans, largely, I think they have a little bit kind of that, like, what do you call it? More of a moral fiber, because they can't really get away with lying this much. If the Republicans pulled something close to this, the mainstream media would run 24/7 debunking the BS. Well, guess what the mainstream media doesn't do for them? It doesn't do for them. It doesn't do that. And it covers them in every way, shape, or form. In fact, they regurgitate it. So folks at home that aren't political, that are just listening to stuff, or they're just listening to the news, they just want the news, they hear, oh my God, Republicans restricting voting rights, Jim Crow. Jim Crow's bad. We all know that. It's unbelievable, and only Democrats can pull it off. Only the left in this country can pull it off.
Eric, does LeBron James actually know what the voter ID laws are in Georgia, or is somebody just telling him, hey, LeBron, they're trying to stop black people from voting. They're restricting voting rights. We should do something about this.
I think you're still giving him too much credit. Even it's not like, oh, here, like, hey, the right wing wants to take away voting rights. It's like, this is you want to do that Hollywood movie? You want to stay out in Hollywood? You want to be part of this crew? You want to be part of this clique? this is what you have to say. They're not going to even explain it to him. And I also would say that because he doesn't know. The guy's a gajillionaire. He doesn't know what's going on in Georgia as he's bouncing a ball, right? But I also think that we're still giving these people a little bit too much credit in the sense that, yeah, they're lying or they're stupid. Me personally, I think it's far more sinister. I think they've been planning this for years. I think they've been planning this takeover. I mean, obviously they were angry with Donald Trump the minute he stepped on the escalator back in 2015 or whatever it was. But I used to think that the Rona was all about getting rid of Trump. Obviously, it's a much bigger play than that. It's a global takeover. We're seeing obviously what's happening in Canada. And now we're basically in World War III. South Africa's going crazy and Cuba and all sorts of things. But I digress a little bit. My point is there's no like, oh, are they lying? Are they telling the truth? Do they really mean this? This is it. None of that even matters. This is follow the script. This has been planned for years, months, years, whatever it is, possibly even decades. I mean, who knows how far back this stuff goes? I mean, we can watch. Again, I don't want to digress too much, but you can watch clips of Jesse Lee Peterson in Los Angeles in 1993 calling out fake news. So this has been a long time coming. And it's only now that everybody has, 2 cell phones in their pocket, 6 social media accounts, so we can see every single thing happening all the time. So I think maybe that actually might be a good thing, that we've always kind of been going through this. It's just now that we could all see it clearly. And obviously, former President Trump, since the left still can't get over it, he's one of the main factors that sort of kicked down the sandcastle of all the illusions that have been happening. And now there's a whole nother story to be told about whether Trump's part of the establishment and he's turned on his supporters and this, that, and the other. That's a completely different conversation. But my point remains, do not give these people any credit. It is all sinister. They are not acting in good faith in the least.
Now, I tend to think, one of the interviews I did was with a former actor. And when I think about stuff like masks and all those, Horowitz did a video, Fleck did a video where it's, why are you still wearing a mask if you're vaccinated?
I did one of those.
You did one of those too?
Yeah.
And then you get these answers from people. They're just like, I don't know. I just want to feel safe. It almost turned into a Trump. I don't know. I just want to be safe. But they don't have any logic behind this. And I think the same thing could work with these celebrities and athletes where everybody else is doing this stuff. Everybody else is saying this stuff. LeBron, why would... It's clearly voter suppression. Why don't you do something about it, bro? We're doing something. The MLB's doing something. So why don't you just do something about it? And he's like, oh, yeah, okay, I guess I'm against voter suppression, so I should do it. But if you're saying that they actually are following a script and just being fed what to say, I would tend to lean the other way, but then I also remember the Podesta emails where they're literally telling people what to say.
Yeah,
so,
we know. I forget. It was a couple years ago. It was probably 2018, where somebody on the 5 who was actually sitting in for Juan Williams admitted on Fox News that the DNC sends out email blasts. I think a lot of not a lot, but people know about that. They send out email blasts of the talking points of the day or the week. And
they do that here too. We've got a leak from the Conservative Party here. This is months ago. And it sends out their list of talking points. This is how we're going to defend this. And if somebody asks you this question, here's 3 responses you can give to it. So what we did is we copy and pasted some of the responses, just put it into Twitter or put it into Google, and you can see all the politicians that were too lazy. For this one, there was only about 5 of them who copied things verbatim. But in Canada, it's not a big country. So, and then you can just see them copy and paste exactly what was given to them in the email. Well, this is what I think about that. And if we're not going to stand up for it, then who else will? As I punch my microphone, I'm full of rage.
I don't know what's next, but I just want to say really quick that your video, James, I don't know, 6 or 8 weeks ago, out there, I don't know, Huntington Beach or Venice Beach, wherever you were, where you had like 3 masks and the Lysol was just the Lysol was just. I might have to rewatch that or repost.
Huntington Beach.
So
does
funny,
Andrew know about that? Andrew, do you see this one?
I don't know if you know about that.
So like on this, I'm so glad you brought that up. That's totally on point with what we're talking about here. It's the mindless, brainless, like for some reason personal thought and like thinking for yourself thrown out the window. It doesn't matter. And that's what you saw in a lot of those mask videos. Well, I did a fake petition video, kind of inspired by
Okay,
the
I found it.
good old Mark Dice videos.
We won't have any sound, but we can see it.
Wait, what is?
Okay.
Oh, is this an
So
ad?
That's an ad.
I'm wearing, oh good, ads. Thank the heavens. So I'm wearing 3 masks, and I'm going around asking people a federal, not just a state, a federal mandated triple mask mandate. And I swear to God, we got like 10 in a row in Los Angeles. It was filmed in Los Angeles. We got like 10 signatures in a row. And then I flip the page over and I say, yeah, so this right here, this petition, you just sign right here. And this is for jail time. It's a 3-strike rule. Jail time for failure to comply. Everyone signed it. I did not struggle in any way. And I show everyone, right? If people walk away, I show it. We had the easiest time getting this done. And it was terrifying, but this whole mask thing, a lot of the vaccines, but primarily masks. It's been a big one for the masks. Is people just, nobody asks questions. Nobody's at the airport being like, I'm not wearing a mask here, but hey, if you get in line to get on your Delta airline flight, you have to put on a mask. And everyone's like, yeah, that works, 100%. COVID's right there. It's not right here. We're good to go. Like it's unbelievable. People just shut off that part of their brain, and yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy watching that happen. It's insane.
I might have to try that video. But you mentioned Huntington. No, I might have to copy it, you know.
Copy it. Yeah,
it's okay. I'm in a different country. It's allowed. You mentioned Huntington Beach. Tito Ortiz commented on the Rebel News Instagram. Somebody pointed out to me and said, "Oh, the left has gotten to you guys too. Unsubscribe because of the Chris Sky stuff." This might be over your head, James, but a guy stormed out of an interview with us, and he's a big like anti-lockdown guy, so his fans are angry. And then he just made up a whole bunch of lies that we won't get into. But like Tito Ortiz, the left is, you guys are controlled opposition now. I see how it is. Huntington Beach bad boy. All right, one more thing before we let Mr. Klug go. Is it if I was to be a German, would it be Klug? That's what I think the umlaut does, doesn't it?
No, it's Klug, I believe. I mean,
what the hell?
Have nothing.
Well, what the hell?
I'm incredibly American and have literally nothing to do with Germany at all. I've never been there in my life. I don't know anyone that lives there. But
well, then. I've been led to believe the 2 dots make an sound based on my soccer knowledge. But anyways, this is a story that's very close to you. It is the We Spa, which is a hilarious name, letting the transgender customer, they just say it's a guy who still has genitalia. We can't dead name him on Twitter. YouTube, I don't think it matters. I don't know his name anyways. Guy with guy genitals in women's section of spa. Woman has problem with her daughter being exposed to a naked man in a hot tub, I believe. James, was it?
Yeah, it was a woman's only section of the spa. So that's really I didn't see too many details on it, but it's a woman's only section. It's like a changing kind of section, stuff like that.
So you were there. That was the day you got hit with a billy club, right?
Yeah, it sucked. Yeah. Yeah. And I'll break down kind of what's going down about that if you'd like. But quick shout out to myself, actually. Just got to keep it humble. We just did a video asking people if they support that trans person's right to show their male genitalia in front of women and underage girls, which were present. We'll dig into that in a second. We just did a video. I'm actually not sure if it's up on Newsmax's YouTube channel, but I'll be advertising it on my social media platforms as soon as I can. Anyways, so basically what was going on there, transgender woman exposed her male genitalia to women and underage girls. That's what happened. Cuban woman blew the whistle on this, and basically July 3rd, there was a massive gathering actually it was a smaller gathering of conservative groups that showed up to basically defend this Cuban woman's right to feel comfortable in a change room without seeing male organs like in her face and her children's face, which seems reasonable. And pretty much what happened is Antifa, SoCal Antifa, other Antifa Twitter pages and stuff, because of course they're free to roam on social media as much as they'd like and organize chaos on social media as much as they'd like. We can't say the same for any right-wing groups, but they showed up with 150 or so plus Antifa members, left-wing people. I got video of them with their Antifa flags, stuff like that. And it was pretty much a major beatdown. I think as early as 9:45 a.m., they jumped the conservative organizer. Antifa jumped the conservative organizer, kicking the snot out of him. It was insane. And a lot of the early people were, it seemed to be, from my perspective, religious people being pushed out, chased out. I have video of that you guys can check out on my Twitter. And they seemed pretty peaceful. That was right when I showed up. And pretty much right when I showed up is when things got out of control. I was maybe there for 10 minutes, saw someone flank me from the right. Guy chased after me with like a billy club. It was like a wooden club. We danced around in the street a bit. He ended up smacking me as hard as he could in the back. It did not feel good. My muscles tensed up because apparently my body doesn't like being assaulted. And yeah, it was a miniature civil war right before the 4th of July, and it was chaos. A right-wing group ended up showing up, and basically they just duked it out in the streets. There were officers present, maybe about a couple blocks away, but they were just sitting by because that's how Los Angeles works. Los Angeles, they kind of have a stand-down policy with their policing. So do a lot of left-wing cities. And these people were beating the crap out of each other in the middle of the street. There were people stabbed, camera gear stolen from reporters. Reporters jumped, bloody noses. It was insane. And I was actually just stopping by, to be honest with you. I wasn't even supposed to be there. I was filming in Los Angeles somewhere else. I just stopped by to check it out. And I couldn't really leave because Antifa and everyone's beating the crap out of each other right in front of where I parked. So that was my July 3rd.
Sounds like a celebratory day. That kind of stuff just doesn't happen. Kind of stuff just doesn't happen here. The most recent Antifa thing that happened here was there's supposed to be a debate between two people in Chinatown in Toronto, and they didn't want that to happen because a bunch of, it's not even like the same demographic. This was a group of like 40-plus-year-old Antifas mixed in with teenagers. And they didn't want this debate to happen because they thought it hurt Chinatown somehow. And they showed up and tried to use like police bike tactics, moving them forward and everything. There was like 30 of them. They failed. Cops came, they ran away and dropped, like they had little clubs too. But there's never been like a street brawl of Antifa and other people. Maybe that's because the Proud Boys are labeled terrorists in Canada. They can't get into fights.
Yeah, that could be it. But it's street fascism is really what it is. And believe me, I can crap on the right misbehaving all day, but really what it comes down to is a group of far left wingers that whenever they see any demonstration that happens to be conservative, they show up to police it. Because guess what? Law enforcement in these liberal cities is not going to be doing that. They're not going to be protecting these individuals. And Antifa and these far left-wing groups are free to show up and be the arbiters of what's allowed to be said at these demonstrations. I mean, I mentioned this previously, Andrew, I think on the show the other day. They believe that they are the arbiters of what can be said. And so families, conservatives, standard conservatives, they don't really show up to these things anymore. I mean, you kind of got to have some balls to show up to these protests. And this isn't even a crazy thing to protest. Like, hey, don't show your male genitalia to underage girls. That's all we're asking here. That's not the biggest thing. But, you have left wingers that say, fist up, heck yeah, power to the people showing their male genitalia to underage girls. I don't know what the heck's going on there, but, you don't get average conservatives showing up to many of these things anymore. A lot of the people are tending to be more aggressive or ready to defend themselves. And it seemed as though in the morning, it wasn't necessarily that more aggressive group, but the aggressive group of conservatives did show up to react to this street fascism that we see all over the country. I mean, we're seeing this everywhere in the United States right now. It's pretty wild. And especially 2020. I mean, that was just another
banner year
level. I mean,
banner year. Yeah.
It was unbelievable. Yeah.
All right, well, let's pay some bills here. I think, James, do you still have to go now?
Yeah, I'll head out. I can head out, and yeah, we'll do a 5-minute heads up.
I just want to ask you about your thoughts after we pay the bills, really quick. Just what you think about the mask coming back to Los Angeles, since I know you're in.
Right.
We'll leave it on that.
Everybody gets a break now.
Right.
There you go. James Klug on Instagram as well as Newsmax TV. My girlfriend has this crazy cable service where you get the Newsmax channel, you get the InfoWars channel, you get OAN on just cable. It's really cool. So maybe we'll see you on there, but you can check them out on their website or, of course, on YouTube. Eric's book, which he's going to hold up, I'm sure, is New York City 2020 Gotham Unglued. And you can get the hardcover. Don't be a bitch, get the hardcover. But if you are, get the Kindle version for much, much, much less. Hardcover or death is what I say. And if you go to rebelnews.com/Andrew_says, or just go to the show tabs, you can see my latest with TJ Laramie, UFC featherweight, who was fined coming across the border because he dared to go to the United States to train. He was in Las Vegas. He came back, flew to Detroit to drive over the Michigan border. They said, no, your PCR test is like 3 hours late. We can't let you come across without the fine. They wanted to take him to one of the quarantine facilities. He said no. So he became one of our Fight the Fines people as well. He did an episode of my show. I should have got them to put a shirtless photo of me, I guess, since his is shirtless, and really make it look like a fight. But I don't know. TJ, don't kick my ass. But anyways, that's rebelnews.com. Andrew says number 32 with TJ Laramie. And now we're back from paying the bills, everybody. The story we were going to get to was the mask mandate in LA County. Their face coverings indoors again, as COVID cases spike, James Klug. How do you feel about this? Let's see if they go into actually how the numbers here in this article from ABC7.
It's all
as evidenced by
nonsense.
I mean,
7 straight days of new cases over 1,000.
Yeah, I haven't had, because I've been editing. We've been working on getting videos and stuff, but I did see that come up today, and here's the thing. Despite what you think about the vaccines, okay, that is as far as you can go. That's as much as you can do to stem this. That's as much as you can do. Okay, so we've gotten that out. There you go. That's as much as you can do. And here they are reintroducing masks. And I think they're really, if I had to guess, I think that they're going to reintroduce masks. I think they're going to feel how much pushback there's going to be. I don't think there's going to be a lot in Los Angeles, in my opinion. I'm in Orange County. Okay, so we wouldn't tolerate that here. We really, we have a lot more conservative governing down here in Orange County. Los Angeles, I think they're just going to accept the slaps in the face and say, give me more. Because guess what? What you're probably going to end up seeing is another lockdown in Los Angeles County. I think they're testing the waters. This is just me speculating, but I really do think that they're testing the waters, and I think that they're going to try to push another. Lockdown. These people really don't care about Americans' well-being, their businesses, anything like that. It really doesn't matter. I think that's largely, bigger than anything, almost, has been testing the waters of how much control you can take over someone's life. I think that's largely been one of the biggest factors or reasons for these lockdowns, all of this stuff, mask mandates, everything like that, across the whole world. Because a lot of countries are saying, wow, we can really get away with a lot without our citizens completely losing their minds. Mm-hmm. They destroyed businesses for pretty much the entire year last year. Actually, pretty much the entire year last year, with some pushback for sure. But the pushback was a bunch of maybe right-wing people that believe in freedom and don't want to be told what to do. And what happened with the mainstream media? The mainstream media laughed at them. They scoffed at them because they wanted, oh gosh, those people, they want absolute freedom. What a joke. And a lot of folks on the left totally got in line with that belief. So yeah, I think they're testing the waters. I think it's a complete joke. I think it's anti-scientific. And they'll continue to do what they do until every single business in Los Angeles leaves.
Eric, let's read what it says for a second, and then I'll get your comment on there. It says, there are some breakthrough cases in those that have been vaccinated, but those are relatively rare and result in symptoms that are less severe. Misinformation about vaccines is being blamed for some people still being hesitant to get vaccinated. And we're not out of the woods yet. Dr. Vivek Murthy, the Surgeon General, says millions of Americans are still not protected. Even though we just mentioned that you still could get it, we're still not protected. We're seeing more infections among those who are unvaccinated, Eric? Are you afraid? Be afraid.
Well, obviously not. I think one part though, the
Oh, what a
scariest thing,
tough guy.
the scariest thing though in the entire article, I have it pulled up here, is the very last line is everything is on the table, which plays right into what you said. That means everything is on the table. That literally means that we'll decide in a couple weeks how we feel. We might make you take right turns only or walk backwards through doorways in your apartment. Like, none of it makes any sense. And I could have sworn it was less than a month ago, or actually I think it was exactly a month ago, June 15th, where they were celebrating 70% vaccination. So I mean, you're telling us that the vaccines don't work, or none of this adds up. I just genuinely wanted to know if you thought, being out in Southern California, that people were actually going to stand up to this. And it sounds like in Los Angeles, no. In Orange County, perhaps, and maybe anywhere in between Los Angeles and San Francisco, people aren't doing it anyways. But, those cities, they'll do anything. They'll bend over.
Exactly that whole slap me in the face, give me more kind of thing. They don't care. They'll be disrespected all day, and they're just gonna take it. Orange County, those bigots down there, they actually want some freedom. I mean, would you look at that? They don't want their businesses destroyed. I mean, what monsters? But Los Angeles, I think that they will. You guys, I talk to a lot of people in these cities. You know what I mean? And if I were to guess. When I go out to talk to people, we go out just in the streets in Los Angeles and stuff like that. You probably get 80-20, 90-20, 90 meaning left-leaning or pretty far left-leaning, 10 or 20 meaning conservative or somewhat conservative. They're outnumbered. So, yeah, you might get some people pushing back on it. But Eric, that was a really super interesting point, which is that you kind of brought up or touched on, which is, what is the incentive here? For people, they want more people to get vaccinated. Okay, well, congrats, you got vaccinated. Now you still have to wear a mask inside. Where's the incentive here? And it doesn't really seem as though this has been their biggest. I mean,
the carrot.
One of the bigger. Yeah, this is exactly. It's like, if you get vaccinated, most people that want to get vaccinated, they want to believe that they can go out and do what they want and return to normal life. Because the truth is, like I already said, that's really the only thing that you could do. Once there's a vaccination, like. That's the conversation's over. Move on with your life, And if you're at risk, I mean, please do your best job to take care of yourself and make sure that you're staying safe and stuff like that. But that just goes for anything, right? If you're at risk, you don't want to be going out in public and touching all the handrails and rubbing your eyeballs and stuff. I just hit my desk. But that just goes for anything. You know what I mean? So I think they will probably get away with this push in Los Angeles. It's all back on the table. They'll probably end up doing another lockdown. Perhaps they might not. I know Newsom doesn't want to get booted, or he wants to be popular right now. He wants to be a popular character. So I'm not sure that they would pursue that. But I think anything's on the table, to be honest with you. I'm not surprised by any of this anymore. I'm not surprised that by them pushing to destroy Americans' lives and just have Americans sit there and be like, oh yeah, that's totally fine. Smack me in the face, keep doing it. I don't care.
I think there's a good chunk of those people who are vaccinated and expected to go back to normal who are going to do whatever the screen tells them. If you can get a whole bunch of influencers, a whole bunch of actors and athletes to say, you know what, we think it's better that for at least another year we all stay inside as much, we all distance as much as we can. He'll be right back. I think his connection just dropped out. But stay inside as long as you can. We can beat other diseases. We can beat other illnesses. This is the right thing to do. If we just keep going, the climate's going to get better. We have a great chance here, you guys, to mitigate a lot of the climate change. We told you everything's going to go to shit in 2030. So this is a great chance to do all this stuff. I think if enough people watch their screens and are being told to keep doing what they're doing, that they're going to do it because they don't want to be part of the crowd, out of the crowd. And just in the inverse, if everybody takes off their masks and everybody starts going back to normal, then even those people who said, I'm going to wear my interviews that I did, I'm going to wear my mask for another 2 years, I think they'll take them off as soon as a person they want to talk to or the person that they're friends with, a group of friends, takes them off. I think they're going to do that. There's so many of these people that are wherever the wind blows because I want to look like a good person. I want to look like a popular person. And what's the way to be popular? It's to do everything else. Do that TikTok dance. I think they're willing to do it.
100%. And I heard you mention 2030 for climate change. I thought they were advocating for 2025, but maybe that's coming up too soon. So they had to move it an extra 5 years. Got to keep that.
It was originally 2030. I think some people moved it up. I mean, AOC said
AOC,
the world's literally ending.
Like now. Yeah. Hey, stay inside, stay safe. Less car accidents, less everything, less everything. I mean, that's really what it is. And you can live your life like that. Sure. But to me, that's not the best argument. I mean, geez. People do have to live their lives, but some of these people, like we touched on earlier with the triple masking, this is really just people that shut off that part of their brain. Triple mask, federal mandate, jail time if I don't comply. Sign me up. And you're just looking at this like, all right, so I understand. These are the people that don't question this stuff. These are the people that don't question this stuff. And I know we're talking extremes here, but the truth is, during that video, we went out for like an hour and a half and we got a crazy amount of signatures. It's easier than you think. There are more people than you think that will take that.
These people have never tried stacking two Brita filters on top of each other. It's the same thing. You put the same filters, 3 masks are going to do the same as one. Okay, people?
That's so good. Gentlemen, I gotta take off. I figured now is a good time for me to say that.
It is.
Awesome, bro. Great to see you. Thanks for coming on.
James is on my show next week. Everybody watch that. We talked about a lot of fun stuff, and we both have great facial hair, as he commented in the interview. So look forward to that.
You might have me beat. But yeah, no doubt we're both in an excellent facial hair, condition right here. So, gentlemen, thank you guys so much for having me on. Andrew, thank you, appreciate it.
All right, take it easy, man.
Bye, you guys.
Eric, why don't you just grow one of those thin black guy mustaches?
Because I don't have a barber right now. So there's your answer. I don't have a South Dakota barber. I actually, I'm out here by myself, right? I just drove my car from New York to South Dakota, and I've just been hanging out at the gym. So I'm like, finally,
our gym's open on Friday.
The gyms are open every day. I don't know what.
Ours are opening tomorrow, I'm saying.
Oh, yours? Oh,
yeah.
Sorry. I'm just saying I was shooting hoops the other day, and I don't know how we started talking about barbers. I literally don't know. I said something about New York. New York.
This is what I want for you.
Okay, the Nick Van
Exel.
Maybe we'll see once I.
Can I choose an uglier NBA player? Yes, I can. Is
Sam Cassell? I don't know.
Oh no, I went with Chauncey Billups first.
Why this was such a sports heavy episode? I feel like
something
else we were supposed to get to, and then we started talking about the
barbershop. Yes, Posobiec talks about the Biden administration is building a list of conservative influencers. Written by some guy from the Tatum Report. I think that's you. Journalist Jack Posobiec recently stated on Twitter that the Biden administration is planning to release a list of conservative influencers that January 6th defendant follows. Yeah, I was reading about this. So they basically just want to create a list of people so that they can say they were radicalized by different stuff.
Yes.
And I guess prosecute them.
Well, I don't know exactly what, I mean, now we're getting into, obviously everything we've seen is really quite scary, but I don't know what they want to charge these people with. And again, I know that we constantly, everybody who is not even on the right wing, but just like common sense people are constantly pointing out the hypocrisy. But I mean, are we really going to say that people that went to go protest Joe Biden's victory and targeted the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. are so much more extreme than the people who burned down private businesses across the country? I mean, and corporations as well, obviously Target and Dollar Tree and all those places. But we also know that there were there was a woman up in the Bronx who got her store destroyed last summer. And we're talking about an old black lady who was like running a sandwich shop. It's like none of it makes any sense. But if you thought that maybe something was a little unsavory about the election, then you're on a list. So we made it here. Like I always say, you guys are what, 4 to 6 months ahead of us as far as like the tyrannical overbearing government, but we'll get there. So don't worry.
Well, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, we already know that the people leading these things were part of the FBI. So the fact that's how you know the media is on their side, because they're still going forward with all this stuff. Like we're going to look at the memes you've liked, and this is ground for charging you. And if you didn't hear that Baked Alaska guy claimed that he got offered to be an informant or else he's going to jail. So like they're still pushing, even though we know all this stuff, they're still able to push through because the media doesn't care. They're just let's just get them. It's the same thing with the election integrity stuff in Georgia. There is no doubt in my mind, and we can dance around the topic of that a bit. I don't know if it's yet social media friendly, even though it's been proven. But there's no doubt in my mind that these people will do this vindictively. There's no doubt in my mind that this woman's going to scan something twice if she thinks it's going to help Joe Biden. Like, I don't doubt that at all. And just like this, just like the January 6th stuff, there's no doubt in my mind that the Democrats are willing to put people behind bars based on memes and say that they're radicalized, just so that people maybe forget that it was actually part of the government's plan or a government agency, I should say.
Yeah, and there's a history. If you watch, I don't know, somehow we got another Mark Dice mention earlier, but I mean, he talks about the CIA and the FBI and all, these alphabet agencies that have been actively trying to undermine their own citizens for decades. And like I said, it's only recently been exposed, partly by President Trump, of course, but the advent of heavy social media. I mean, I think even back when Occupy Wall Street was happening, that was just the beginning of Twitter. I don't even think Instagram had come out until after Wall Street. You can fact check me on that. I'm not sure, but the point is that we're bombarded with information at any given time, so we're able to see it now. But the CIA has been infiltrating Hollywood and the media to subvert the population for a very long time. That's my call on Alex Jones.
Ben Shapiro's got a book on people pushing narratives through Hollywood. I forget what it's called, but I have it somewhere. Shout out Ben Shapiro. Last story of the day. California doctor arrested for fake vaccine and vaccination cards. Who could have saw that coming? DOJ recently announced a California doctor was arrested for allegedly selling fake COVID-19 vaccines. So he's selling fake vaccines as well.
Vaccines, not just the cards. Yes.
He's got a whole racket there. Does he work for Alex Rodriguez or something?
I think it was a woman.
Julie Mazzi, a licensed Napa area homeopathic doctor, so that's California, right? Napa Valley, the wine.
Yep.
Is suspected of selling immunization pellets that she said contained COVID-19 and that the immunization would create an antibody reaction. So she was selling flu pills. Like, if you're to dumb it down, it's like, I'm giving you a tuberculosis pill. There's some famous story about a guy, world leader, poisoning himself with mercury because he thought he would build a tolerance to it. Department of Justice noted Mazzi told people that her vaccination would provide lifelong immunity to the virus and sent the immunization cards to the victims with instructions to fill out the cards as they've received the Moderna vaccine. I wonder if people ever misread her name there. Eric, I've got to say, now that we've been reading Tatum report stuff, I haven't found any spelling mistakes yet. Congratulations to you guys.
Well, we have a little bit of a system.
Whatever. I should be clicking on the Pitbull sounds off with Crisis in Cuba. Pitbull is based, by the way.
And let me just say, too, where there is going to be, I know you mentioned that the website could use some work, and I learned only a couple days ago that is in the works. So we're going to have a completely redesigned website in the near future. So that's looking good, too.
Well, Eric, we've come this far. We're an hour in. And next week, we are going to have a huge primetime variety hour comedy special. We've got 3 comedians coming on just for the hell of it, just to be funny. We've got Ben Bankus, who's got the notorious masking naked in the shower video. We've got Leonarda, who's got her kitchen murder mysteries. And we've got another guy who we haven't spoken to yet named Kyle Lucy. He's got a big Instagram following. He does really weird comedy sketches, he's usually in his underpants and he's in good shape, so it's uncomfortable. And he's doing weird stuff, but he's a funny guy. So I thought, why not have a whole primetime comedy hour like that episode of The Simpsons?
Absolutely. And just really quick, as far as Leonardo is concerned, she also has this really funny bit. I think we talked about it briefly, of her impersonating the Los Angeles County Health Director. It's just absolutely hilarious.
I was trying to encourage Ben Bankus to do a Chris Guy impression. Tank top, sunglasses, slick your hair back. But, I think Ben goes through a cycle where he's mad at me and he's not mad at me,
Yeah,
He's an emotional guy.
Fair enough. Comedians are crazy.
All right. Well, it was good talking to you as always.
Absolutely.
Show the book. Podcast
Every
keeps
time.
growing. The guests keep getting better. Shout out to the people who sent me this shirt, tooneytours.ca. They're sponsoring my show next week with one James Klug. James doesn't even know how to pronounce his own name. He's got an accent on it.
He's from California,
Well, then,
Wait,
James,
so
why
am
are
I.
you spelling
So
it with
am
the two
I.
dots?
That should not, I'm from California.
Yeah, good
also,
one.
So good on me.
All right. We need like taglines. Mine used to be on YouTube. I wouldn't lie to you except for maybe this once.
I don't know. I just have the book here. I'll work on it though. That's a good point. Kind of like a sign off. All the big YouTubers have it. So
Buy my book.
Buy my book. Maybe we'll just do it like that. I mean, Michael Knowles had the bail. Anthony Brian Logan has his thing. So I think we just did it right here. Buy my book. Boom.